going into July, logically speaking, right, the narrative should be that Ethereum, is probably going to get some momentum against Bitcoin here going into the ETF approval in July, right? I think July 2nd is very, very likely. What's his name? We should just create names for all these people, but Eric Balchunas, I think is how you pronounce it. He's a senior ETF analyst over at Bloomberg. He's basically said like just before July 4th is the target. So they kind of get it out of their hair before, they go on break essentially. So I was like, okay, that seems legit. And then Gary Gensler himself had said by the end of the summer for sure. So, I would say within July makes a lot of sense. But I think Ethereum, what did you see with Bitcoin last fall, right? You saw kind of, it should have been dumping and yet it didn't. And it just kind of had these days where like it didn't gain too much, but the next day then it jumped, and then it had a few days where it gained a bit, but not too much. And then it jumped. And so like, if we start seeing that on Ethereum going into the end of this month, beginning of July, then you want to start seeing altcoins follow the leader a bit, or at least hold lows, right? So because I do think that the positiveness here for Ethereum should have that knock-on effect, like you mentioned.
Yeah, it's funny how the things move so fast with this, where we kind of just woke up. Oh, okay. I remember last time I had you and DCC on, we were talking about August, and that was like the target. That was the one that was like, okay. We kind of wrote off the whatever it was, a May deadline. Is that what it was at the time?
Well, and there's a couple things that I was just kicking myself for on that one, because I was like, like I had enough information on the May one that I'm like, they could try to sneak it in there, but I really did not think they would actually do that. So like, that's the one thing of, sometimes with all this, it's like the data sometimes points in the direction, that things are likely to go, and they're not just going to say it, right? They're going to try to throw some curveballs in here.
Well, I don't think anyone, it wasn't just you. I don't think anyone expected. We're kind of like, okay, that was not going to happen, but we know the BlackRock, they got the great track record. We're, looking forward to August, all that stuff. And then this happened. So how does it change? Like what you were thinking back then around August, we talked about, maybe this summer, if there's anything building up to the ETF, like it'd be cool if we had a great summer of, Ethereum rising and stuff. Timeline being shifted up where the May thing happened instead of August. I'm like, are you feeling even more bullish on Ethereum this summer? Like, how does that change things?
On accumulation, yeah. So in holding certain lows, like holding above 3,000 and stuff like that, like I'm more bullish on lows holding, basically. I think more accumulation will happen. The one thing is, because it came out of left field and was a surprise, the market wasn't quite sure how to react. And I think the surprise aspect of it kind of took some wind out of the sails of like the hype aspect of the news, right? Because a lot of the times when that news comes out and it's really hyped, like price just has a bigger reaction basically. So price had a good reaction on the specific day and everything, but it kind of, simmered down after that. So that's why I want to see some like accumulation here going to the end of the month on Ethereum to be like, okay, this is actually going to have some legs versus, if it doesn't really have a good, I would say July or something like that, or if it starts breaking below 3,000 again or 3,300 for that matter, then, you're like, okay, that's kind of a warning sign a little bit that maybe, there's a bit more bearishness in the market than we expect. But right now, like, I did on my show yesterday give a 10% bear case for like, what if the top of this bull market's already in for Bitcoin? And I know how ridiculous that is with all the news that's out there and everything, but like, I do think people need to kind of just, watch for various scenarios this bull market, because and I don't think that's likely one at all, but it's just like pretty much you have to, after 2022, right? And then kind of Wall Street coming in and changing the game a bit, you have to pretty much look at everything as a possibility, whether you want that to happen or not. Because I think a lot of people kind of stick with the old narratives too much. And I don't think it's going to change too much. I don't think it's going to be a big difference in the rhythm of the market, but there's going to be some surprises this bull market that like the fundamental news of bullishness of that logically might not fit up with the emotion of kind of how it gets set up by Wall Street, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, we've had all kinds of just good news as far as, I mean, throughout the year. This year we had Bitcoin ETF, which that was when it happened. We're like, oh my gosh, it's finally happening, that kind of thing. But then when it happened after that, there's been ups and downs, SEC here and there. But then, we got, Trump coming out as, saying I'm the pro crypto candidate. Maybe we'll see what.
Amazing, like that, like the geopolitical aspect of crypto now, like globally, is kind of insane. Like that's like like there's so many things that have happened, in the last 6 months or 1 year that I've just like, to be honest, I would never have expected this, which is
politicians competing for votes for crypto people. Like that's
Biden said he's gonna fucking start taking donations on Coinbase Commerce now, and I'm like, LOL. I'm just like, he's just following the leader on that. But it's it's just, yeah, it's kind of crazy from Biden, because he actually has Elizabeth Warren plus some people in his cabinet that actually from, I think Caitlin Long mentioned this, and actually had some evidence to prove it, that basically what was January of 23, they started a campaign against crypto, essentially. And they were trying to, I think they were doing it in favor of Gary Gensler, to try to get, more emotional support on the back of what he was trying to do, in slowing down crypto. And then they just got steamrolled, which is fantastic.